Hello, people. The final awakening is finally here, and there is a big relief. But still contractions happen, and currently, as I'm recording this video, I was wondering and I was hesitant about doing it, but decided to do it anyway, just to show how I'm coping and how I'm going through contractions in the heart after I've had the final realization of impersonal consciousness and of our lives being just a natural expression of life, nothing personal. It's just an organism that's been born and sustained by food and air and water. And everything is in this body is automatic. It's running on, automatically working. So life is on autoplay, so to say. There's no, it doesn't need any input from our minds or from our personal stories or narratives. Life is going on with or without us or this me story. And this has been made pretty clear in my case. Earlier this year I had this realization that I'm not living life, but instead life is living me. I'm not living my life, life is living me. Because when one looks into his body, mind, the body especially, you can see that it's just the body is doing its own, it's sustaining itself on its own. So it's breathing on its own, its heart is beating and everything. Sensations are felt. The immune system, the digestive system, all those systems, internal functions and organs are functioning on their own, automatically, without, nothing needs to be done for them to be kept working as they are, kept functioning. So yeah, pretty much the body is an automatic system. But the problem is not the body, right? Or maybe it's part of the problem, but the real problem for the seekers, and I'm making these videos for seekers or for other people that are at the end of their seeking journey or their spiritual journey. The problem is the mind and the identification and the persona and the internal narrative that we cannot get rid of. This is what causes the suffering, because it's the internal suffering. And it was the internal suffering that in the first place made me start searching for this divine essence, for our true essence, for God, for searching enlightenment and seeking peace and liberation from the chains of my own self, my own mind. And it's been going for years. I mean, the divine source does not care of your wishes, personal wishes, or you just have to go through the evolution, the spiritual evolution, internal turmoil. You have to go through this. There's no shortcuts, or at least I don't know any shortcuts. So yeah, my life has been pretty hellish. I've been living in isolation for more than 5 years. after my divorce. Sorry. After I divorced my wife, and my life also, in a way. So since COVID, things have gone south pretty fast. So yeah, as Eckhart Tolle said once, suffering is necessary until it is not longer necessary. And when is suffering not necessary anymore? Well, when is this sweet spot coming? When is this desired outcome of a balanced life in peace and rest finally comes into manifest itself into the body mind? Well, when we don't trust our minds as much, when we see that we are not our thoughts, but this is not enough because they can continue to torment us. And even if we see that we are not our thoughts, those thoughts, how a thought functions is that it creates a sensation, it brings a feeling. The thought brings a feeling with itself and makes us, there's automatic identification with the thought as my thought or my experience or my life or my circumstances, which the thought narrates and unveils and dictates in a way. So thoughts are like magnets for identification to emerge. So the thought is directly dependent, the power of the thought and the belief in the thought, in thoughts in general, is totally dependent on our identifications. So when we take ourselves personally as separate individuals and we take our thoughts to be our own and to be telling us to trust, to be trusting in them and have faith, and not faith, but trust, just validate our thoughts as existing and as real and as something that is actually trying to protect us or trying to tell us something. When we engage with the thoughts, we automatically identify with the thoughts as our thoughts. If someone else shares those thoughts, we would not identify because these are other person's thoughts. But actually there is no difference. Thoughts are thoughts. Our thoughts or someone else's thoughts, it's all the same. And sometimes we believe what our other people say. So it's very important that a space is created between who I am and my thoughts and my internal narratives. So what is my current experience? My current experience is that I am life itself. I'm living. I'm this aliveness that is unfolding. And the body makes the experience of this separate life, so to speak, possible. It's not a separate life, but a separate expression of the one life. So I know myself, I see myself, I've been seen through, I've seen through myself, accepted myself, and all the unfoldments, most of which are negative, and my life is not a pretty picture right now. It's very chaotic, it's financially unstable, it's there is a lot of insecurity inside me and fear and not knowing what to do and how to arrange my how to plan for the future and how to get my affairs into order. But all this stripping away and crumbling of life, of my life and my circumstances, and me being put through being tested by life and being stripped away of my ability to work my job. I burned out. I could no longer maintain my job position. There's also this inner resistance to look for another job. And there is this urge to just rest, naturally, or just rest. And get back to the heart space. So this has been my practice for the last month. Descending, moving away from the mind space into the heart space and feeling how I feel, accepting how I feel, observing the feelings. Because life is feeling. It's a constant flow of feelings. And what we are afraid is how we are going to feel. For example, we're afraid of losing our job and being broke because we will feel bad, because the mind paints a picture of us being homeless or being broke and unable to maintain or to provide for ourselves and our family. And the fear is the feeling of how we're going to feel. Or if we think about what other people are going to say or going to think about us when they see us or when we do something which is not conforming, which is not in alignment with their expectations or their vision of us. So our image is going to suffer in their eyes, their image about us. But we're not afraid of their image about us. We're afraid of how we're going to feel. We're afraid of the feeling. We're not afraid of the circumstances or how things play out or of the experiences. We are afraid of the actual feeling that these experiences and circumstances and mind games that we play and conclusions and narratives that we tell about our future. We're afraid and we want to escape the feeling that is going to come as a result. So it's all about the feelings. It's not about thoughts, it's not about what others people think, it's not about our financial situation or whether we are poor and broke and whatever. It's how we are going to feel out of this. But what can we do about our feelings? Can we go inside the feeling and feel the feeling? Not only feel the circumstances that are bringing up the feeling, because the circumstances, thoughts, all these dynamics are creating feelings. But can we who is feeling the feelings? Who I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling unstable right now. Okay? So who is feeling unstable? Who is feeling the feeling of being unstable? Now this goes one level deeper, but this exact one level deeper goes beyond the feeling. It goes into a natural, neutral space, because the one who feels the feeling is the impersonal consciousness where the feelings can emerge and where the feelings arise. It's like a spacious consciousness, impersonal. The one who feels the feeling is not scared of the feeling. It accommodates the feeling, but it's not attached to the feeling, nor does it want to run away from the feeling. The feeling is there, and this presence is also there. So this is the awareness, which is what feels the feeling. Now every time we go deeper to this level, we can see that the feeling can no longer harm us, or there is no longer that attachment to the feeling. There's no longer that interplay, and identification is broken with the feeling, because the feeling is given space, it's been accommodated, and it's being looked at or felt through neutrally, without attaching and without pushing or pulling to that feeling, without engaging with the feeling. And there is, so it sounds easy. This is true. This is always true. This is my living experience right now. Is this insight is a living insight. It's not now it's true, but you have to do this and this, and then it's true. Otherwise, it's not true. Or sometimes it's true, sometimes not. No, it's always. When you feel the one who feels the feeling is not attached to the feeling. It accommodates it. It's the space where the feeling emerges. And it's the very space where the feeling eventually dissolves. Probably that's why Jesus said, one of the reasons, that everything, these two shall pass. Because every thought brings a feeling, but every thought passes, and every feeling also passes. Or even if it's an emotion or a feeling by external circumstances. But the external circumstances don't create the feeling directly. They create the input for the mind to interpret the situation and reflect on it, and then the thoughts create the feeling. So we need the man in the middle, which is the mind, to interpret the situation, and then it produces the feeling that we feel. We do not directly feel the outside, if you think about it. For example, what example? We get a ticket for speeding. I got one today. But we're broke, we don't have any money. And it happened a few days later also. This is real story. Although there are no real stories, but let's assume it's really happened, okay? So, for a second time in the same week, police stops me and a second ticket. And there is a resistance, and when this ticket comes, is written, is given to me, I receive it, there is like this internal narrative, oh fuck, oh shit. Why? Why me? Why again me? But the very ticket does not create the feeling. It's my mind interpretation that, and knowing my situation, financial situation, and that I'm obliged to pay this ticket, otherwise it's going to be forced upon me through collectors and stuff like this. So it's not the ticket. The ticket is just a piece of paper, as money are a piece of paper. So it's not this thing, but it's the meaning that we put on this thing, that the mind puts on this thing, that society has put onto this thing, the value and the meaning. And so that the mind, when it sees the ticket, it knows what it means. And it creates the meaning. It looks at the circumstances, it produces these thoughts, these negative thoughts that further contract us into and create the whole sensation of the situation through the mind. So this is the functioning of the body-mind organism and the external world. This is the interaction that is playing out. There are circumstances, external inputs. There is the mind that interprets and carries the meaning and creates the meaning out of those situations. It combines multiple viewpoints and multiple perspectives and memories and knowledge of one's life, and creates a thought. A thought is the product of all those almost instantaneous decisions and calculations that our mind does, our brain. And this produces the feeling, it produces the thought, and the thought produces the feeling. And we suffer because we feel like bad, like sad, like in despair, like we're in resistance. We start reacting. We feel tense, we feel confused, we feel all kinds of negative stuff can bubble up because of this feeling. But we never ask the question, who is feeling the feeling? This is very crucial. But even after this realization, there is also this thinking that once you realize, once you have the awakening, it's final. No, it's not. At least in my case. The mind hijacks you. The circumstances, other people, they hijack your attention. They bring you back into survival mode, into thinking separately. Because, for example, other people, they think, the society thinks as a separate individuals, and they're like functioning by default out of this survival rationalist conditioned state of self. So it's very easy, not only in the beginning, but it can take years to build, to unprogram, to unlearn these conditioned patterns, these reactivity patterns, because it's not only unlearning, forgetting about them, it's seeing them constantly, how they work, seeing the dynamics, how they play out, and seeing the futility of us resisting them, and seeing the counterproductive, how counterproductive it is to resist the bad feelings, because they get us even deeper, because when we resist them, we push against them. So it's like when you push a ball under the water and you release it at some point, because you cannot suppress anything for years. You get tired and you let go, and then the ball is gonna erupt out of the water, jump out of the water with what was the word? With an impulse. With no, not impulse. Anyway, so yeah, seeing the truth of who we are, the reality of who we are, the essence, the impersonal consciousness that sees everything, feels everything, but is not the feeling and is not what it sees. And so seeing this, being in contact with this in some way, because if you're not in contact, if you've never been in contact with this, if you never had a glimpse, so-called glimpse into this, there's no way that you can relate to what I'm saying. You probably think, this is just another bloke that is ranting about his unfortunate life and imagining some funny explanations of how things work. Yeah, that's how people think, because they've never been into this. They have never come in touch. They have never have never felt it or have a clue or a certain insight into this. Have never come into contact with this. But for the ones who have, and these videos are for people who are seeking, who have some clue that this is the case, that we are actually blind to our true nature, and we are trying to understand the mechanisms of the mind because the mind and the ego are the only thing that stands in the way between us feeling naturally as we are, feeling free from this matrix, and be free from, to not be like controlled and subjugated and enslaved by the feelings, by the thoughts, by the conditioned patterns that are repeating, that are taken, copy-pasted from society, learned from society, the coping mechanisms of society. But it's hard, it's not easy to unlearn those, because they have a lot of momentum. You see, we all our lives, I don't know what's your age, but probably it's decades. All our life, we've lived by these rules, by these unwritten laws of behavior and reaction, observing the people around us. We are social animals, and we learn by social interaction and by copying the behavior of other people and taking something, removing something, fine-tuning our personalities, conforming to society, wanting to be accepted, validated. But all these things, this adaptation, adapting to this society, actually makes us, fortifies these patterns, because we play on its rules. The way out, and Jiddu Krishnamurti has a very nice quote, beautiful quote, that being well adapted to ill society or to sick society is not a measure of good health or of health at all. That is, this is why a lot of seekers are put in isolation, because in isolation you stand alone. External input is decreased, you're detached, removed from the external life, so you can focus on what's happening without this input. You're alone with your feelings, with your internal narratives, and you suffer deeply because they are mostly negative. Probably you don't have friends, or have very few friends, and you cannot talk with them about this. And it's a very lonely path, but it's supposed to be like this, because in order to unlearn the society, the norms put by society, we have to be left alone to marinate into our own feelings and thoughts, and become courageous enough to look deeper and deeper into the mechanics, into the interconnectedness, into the patterns, see the patterns, but mostly to get in touch with the feeling of feelings, or you can say the aware presence where the feelings happen. But we are going to be hijacked. Don't expect final results, because this is not spiritual awakening is not like material acquisitions. I have it, I lost, I have it and it's mine, and I bought it and it's sealed deal, you know? No, it's, you have it, you don't have it. You feel like you have it, you lost it again. You're at peace, you feel great, you feel blessed, you feel all the nice things. Then mind gets you, hijacks you. Something happens in life and throws you in chaotic survival mode, and you're all over the place. Your mind is all over the place, and you're buying into its narrative again. So yeah, this is a random talk. I want to start making more videos. It's very unstructured and probably will remain unstructured. I don't know. I don't script this. I just share whatever I feel, and currently I feel a contraction in the heart space, although I have all the right realizations and awakenings. But awakening doesn't give you, doesn't provide you magically with desired outcomes, or it does not manipulate the life that is happening or the unfolding of circumstances. And it doesn't have to, because it's awareness that goes beyond what happens in the world and what happens to you. We can talk about the belief that you're a separate being and the me story, and seeing through that the me story is just a story. But this will be in another video. So yeah, you can write in the comments if you relate to what I'm expressing. I'm sharing from a very vulnerable position. I'm not on a pedestal, or life is hard. Life is hard, and it's good that it's hard, because it makes us ripe. It makes us more. It strengthens our spirits. The bad circumstances test us, and we have to learn how to live no matter what the external circumstances are. We have to be so deeply imbued, so deeply connected with this ever-present awareness, that what happens on the material level, on the mind level, does not matter. We are in deep communion with our true essence. I hope you have a great day. Merry Christmas. And you will hear from me again. I intend to start making videos, because I feel finally, I don't feel like an imposter anymore. I tried to make videos before, but yeah, I felt like an imposter and I deleted them. But now I think I'm pretty much over with those fake wannabe beliefs, and I'm just sharing things as I feel them and as life unfolds in my particular case. But you know, everything is shared, so yeah. Okay, bye, see ya soon.